Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome to part 3 of my How to Play Ingress for Pokemon GO player series. If you're watching this video right now, I'm assuming that you are already level 10. If not, keep on grinding, guys, and don't worry about this until you actually get to level 10, because that is actually when you can start submitting PokeStops. And so in this video, we're going to be going over what actually makes a good PokeStop and how to submit it. Joined by my friend and our local Ingress expert, Michael, who is going to be breaking down exactly what makes a good PokeStop, what makes a bad PokeStop, what generally gets approved, and much more. As always, guys, if you do enjoy this video, feel free to hit that like button down below. I'd really appreciate it. And if you do want to see more Ingress content in the future, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well. But with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the video.
So if you're watching this video, congratulations on hitting level 10. Before you start looking at the PokeStop, there's a few things that you need to know. First of all, Ingress Prime currently does not allow for portal submissions. Due to them recently updating their app, you have to use an older version of their app called Scanner Redacted, and you have to use an account that was made in about November of last year and beforehand. So with that being said, now let's look into portal/PokeStop criteria. When looking for good candidates, you want to look for things that are unique, popular, historical, and cultural. Some things that will always go through almost no matter what are fountains, artwork, places of worship, courts and fields and parks. So things you want to avoid are places on private property, things that have no pedestrian access, and places that are just not safe. Additionally, you don't want to put anything in the way of emergency personnel, so nothing at police stations, hospitals, or fire stations. Also, you want to avoid submitting non-unique businesses, so your local diner or hair salon wouldn't work. And then there are a bunch of things that sometimes will go through and sometimes will not. These things include things like local gathering areas, breweries, or hiking trailheads. These submissions are reviewed by OPR, Operation Portal Recon, which is basically just level 12 Ingress players. If you guys want to learn more about what makes a good candidate versus a bad candidate, there will be some links in the description that will go into it in more detail. Something else to keep in mind is that Niantic is constantly changing their criteria for PokeStops and portals. So there are a lot of things that used to go through but don't go through anymore. Good examples of this might be memorial plaque benches or community entrance signs. And that being said, a lot of things that go through now might not go through in the future if they continue to update their criteria. With that being said, OPR and Niantic are not always on the same page of what makes a good candidate. There are a lot of things that Niantic say should go through, but OPR will not approve. Some of these things include free little libraries or low-key hangout areas. Now that we've talked about what makes a good PokeStop, it is time to look at spacing and S2 cells, which is crucial to understand for our submissions. In order to understand spacing, we need to understand S2 cells. S2 cells is a geographic location grid system that Niantic uses to determine everything in the game. The S2 cell system is basically broken up into layers of grids with different areas. I'm going to show you that on this website, PogoMap.info. This website will allow you to place your own PokeStops and Gyms and allow you to determine boundaries, so where you know where you need to put certain items. The main levels you need to know of the grids are levels 14, 17, and 19. Level 17, you can only have one PokeStop per level 17 cell. So as you see here, the red squares, that is a level 17 cell, and you can only have one PokeStop in each of those cells. Level 19 cells are smaller than level 17 cells. You can have one Ingress portal per level 19 cell. That's why you see so many more portals than PokeStops, because they are given a smaller cell layer that they're allowed to go into. That's why it's really important to get spacing right, because let's say you placed a portal in this level 17 cell, there's already a PokeStop there, so that new portal will not pop up in Pokemon GO as a PokeStop because of this PokeStop. And then finally, level 14 cells determine gym to PokeStop ratio. As you can see, the blue grid is the level 14 cell, and the red grids are the level 17 cells. The ratios are 2 locations equals 1 PokeStop and 1 gym, 6 locations equals 2 gyms and 4 PokeStops, and 20 locations equals 3 gyms and 17 PokeStops. In order to show the power spacing, we are going to look at an example. This is a Valencia Meadows Park. This is one of the parks that I've added a lot of PokeStops at. So we're going to go to Satellite, and then we're going to go to Settings, Visual, Map Type, click on Satellite, and that will let us see satellite so we can see things from the overviewed angle. As you can see, there are 5 PokeStops at this park and 1 gym. before I submitted, only this PokeStop was here. So because of me submitting and understanding spacing, I was able to get a 4 lure spot. So here we have playground. This is a community pool, and this is a public park clubhouse. This is a park sign, and the gym is a basketball court. And then this last PokeStop down here is a baseball field. The gym and lower PokeStop, they are in their own level 14 cell. So it's a 1-on-1 ratio, so 1 gym, 1 PokeStop. And then for the upper one, there are the 4 PokeStops here. And there's another gym up here in the corner that's not on the map. So that's a 1-in-4 ratio. So the next addition will trigger one of the PokeStops to become a gym. So obviously we might not want to add another location here, because if we do, we might lose this 4 lure spot. So now we're going to talk about how to use PogoMap.info and how to add PokeStops and how to add gyms. So the first thing you need to do is to create an account and log in. I think you can do this using Discord, Google, or Facebook. In settings, you're going to want to make sure you go to visual and go to S2 cells and show both levels 14 and 17, just so you have a picture of the gym to PokeStop ratio and the boundaries of level 17 cells. And then you can show the map type of satellite, so you know exactly where your landmark is. PogoMap.info is off by about a foot or two, so just keep that in mind. Try to always stay a foot or two away from the level 17 boundary. So now we want to add PokeStops or gyms to this map, and we need to make sure that our landmark we have in mind is not in the same cell as an existing PokeStop or gym. So in order to do that, we're going to need to go to the Ingress Intel map. Once you're at the Ingress Intel map, what you need to do is you need to click on the portal of where you want to see that the location is on PogoMap.info. Once you click on it, you need to go to link, go to the map link, and copy it. So once you have copied the map link, you're going to want to go back to PogoMap.info, and you want to click on Add to Map. Then it will ask you what the location you are adding is. You can click on PokeStop or Gym or a certain Pokemon or nest, but now we're just going to click on PokeStop. And the status is either normal or sponsored. You always can click on normal because sponsored PokeStops are not in Ingress. So from here, you click OK. You can place your PokeStop anywhere on the map, it doesn't matter. And once we are there, you need to put in the correct title. So let me go back and get the exact title. It is the Central Park Disc Golf Cage 5. So once you put in the title, you want to click on the box that says, I want to edit the latitude and longitude values. And then in input, you paste in the link that you got from the Ingress Intel map. Then you confirm this location already exists in the game, and you add to map. So as you can see, it changed the location of this PokeStop from where I put it to now the correct location in Pokemon Go. I recommend not eyeballing when using PogoMap.info when placing PokeStops and gyms, because there are a lot of landmarks that are right on the edge of a cell barrier, and you just don't want to mess it up because it might ruin your spacing, it might ruin your submissions. Also, do not use PokeStops and gyms on PogoMap.info as a reference for when you're trying to figure out spacing for new submissions, because a lot of people who are using this are mostly eyeballing because they probably don't have access to the Ingress Intel map and aren't using the map links. So when trying to figure out submissions, even if there are existing PokeStops of what you're trying to figure out, you should definitely re-input them into PogoMap.info just to make sure they're accurate. Basically, your process should be to go scout for locations and landmarks around your city, and then go to PogoMap.info and figure out the spacing. Figure it out if it's in its own cell, the proximity to other portals and PokeStops, and where exactly you want to place it on the map. Even if you're about to submit something in its own cell, you still need to make sure it's about 20 to 30 feet away from any other portal. Something else to know is that there's really no way to determine which PokeStop will become a gym. There are many theories, but nothing is known for sure. Google Street View is what OPR uses to determine if your submission should be a portal or not. So if they cannot see it, they will deny it. You can use the app Street View to add a picture of your submission to Google Maps. So now, using PogoMap.info, we're going to look at a few landmarks that we plan on submitting in this video. So the first submission we're going to be looking at are these basketball courts. So as we said earlier, basketball courts and other athletic facilities are great submissions. And we're going to look at these basketball courts right here. Now, these basketball courts are almost entirely in level 17 cells with existing PokeStops. But there is a little bit of basketball court here on the south that is not in a cell with other PokeStops. So when we are going to be submitting this, we want to put the submission right on this corner. Now, OPR, when they are grading, they can move things. So there is a chance that they won't like this and they will move your submission to, let's say, the center right here of these basketball courts. And that would mean that it would become a portal in Ingress, but would not show up in Pokemon Go. But generally, they don't usually do that. It's only if you really fudge the submission. So if I put it somewhere right here or up here, then they probably would move it. So then the second submission we're going to do are baseball fields. Again, baseball fields are athletic fields. OPR will certainly approve this. Now here, as you can see, there are 4 baseball fields, all in pretty much different cells. So in this scenario, each baseball field has a different name. They were donated by different companies. This field right here was donated by UCLA Health, so we will probably name it the UCLA Health Baseball Field. Giving them different names will give them a certain sense of uniqueness. OPR does not like duplicates, so naming them Baseball Field 1, Baseball Field 2, Baseball Field 3, that probably wouldn't fly. But the fact that we're naming them different things, like this will be UCLA Health Baseball Field, this will be Logic's Banking Baseball Field, and these two will be their respective companies. This just opens up the possibility of more submissions later in the future. OPR will still probably ding more than one baseball field as a duplicate, but it increases your chances. The next submission we're going to be looking at is Flair Beauty College. Flair Beauty College can be considered a higher education center, so OPR generally likes that. As long as you don't submit something that's high school or younger, you are pretty much okay with education. So here on PogoMap.info, we can see that this is Flair Beauty College. There is no other PokeStop in the level 17 cell. So we're going to go here to Google Street View and we're going to make sure that we can see it. So put your little person right on the blue line, which indicates somewhere where the Google streetcar has been. And we're going to rotate, and there you go. As you can see, Flair Beauty College, the sign is right there. We'll probably put the submission right on the sign. The next thing we're going to look at is a trail marker. Trail markers usually go through. Sometimes OPR is finicky about them for some reason, but if you keep resubmitting it, it will generally work. Now, the one here, it is at this location right here, and as you can see, there's no other PokeStops in the area, so we should be good. And now we're going to look on Street View to see if it is visible. So we're going to put our little man right here. So now we can see on Google Street View, this is the trailhead marker right here. And as you can see, it is visible. OPR will be able to see it, they'll know it's there, and they should give it a good view. The next submission we're going to be looking at is a playground. Playgrounds will almost always go through as long as they're accessible for the public. And as you can see in PogoMap.info, there are no other PokeStops at this playground. The playground is covered by a gazebo, so that's why obviously it doesn't look like a playground from here. But the OPR will be able to see the gazebo in the picture you submit with your submission. And the final submission we're going to be looking at is Haven Baptist Church. Places of worship, no matter what the religion, it will almost always go through. It's kind of a callback to the deep lore of Ingress and how it's really connected to gods and religion and a higher power. So that's why it will almost always go through. So now we're going to go over to Google Maps and see if it's visible. And this church is in a parking lot, so we're not going to be able to see this on Google Street View. So, OPR, when they're reviewing it, they will not be able to for sure say, oh, this submission is there. So they would probably deny it. So this is a time that we're going to want to use the Street View app to add the picture to Google Street View. So we will do that in the field. So here we are at Haven Baptist Church. This church is not on Google Maps. So as we talked about in the spacing section of this video, we're going to have to make a Photosphere on Google Street View app. So I'm going to do that right now. So in order to do that, you need to go to the camera on the app and you need to do a Photosphere. So generally you're just going in a circle, taking a photo of the entire area. For this, I would recommend having as few people in as possible. and limiting the amount of license plates on cars that you can see. It will decrease the likelihood of your Photosphere being denied. And when doing the Photosphere, you're going to want to do at least 2 rings of photos, and you want the orange circle around the check mark to be at least halfway full. So I'm going to go out right in front of the church, and then I am going to push the check mark, and it is trying to make the picture look publishable. And then when I'm on Wi-Fi, I will publish the photo onto Google Maps, and it will either deny or approve it. Do not submit it when you're not on Wi-Fi, because it will take a massive chunk of your data. So as we said earlier, we are using Scanner Redacted, Ingress's old version. It's not much different than the Ingress Prime submission process, other than there's going to be extra photos that are going to need to be taken. So there's nothing really else you need to know. So we're going to click on making a new portal. And then for the pictures that you submit, there are a few things to make sure. You want your photos to be clear, and you also do not want any people in the photo. So this church doesn't look like a traditional church, but it should still go through because it's still a place of worship, and that's what Ingress is all about. So back when we were looking at the spacing for these submissions, we know that if we place our portal right on top of where it will be in its own level 17 cell. So we're good with that. We're just going to name it what it is, Haven Baptist Church. And then generally for something like a church, there isn't much of an explanation or a description that's needed. So for this one, I'll just skip a description. And then now we've done that, just send. And it says your portal has been submitted for review. It is important though that you do not close your app at all until you get the email that says Niantic got your submission. Because if you do, your submission will be lost in limbo, and you will not be able to submit any other portals until it's taken out of limbo, which could be months. If this does happen to you and you do not get your submission email, either because you lost service or you accidentally closed out of your app, all you need to do is log out of your account and log back in. This will kill the submission, but you will be able to submit it again. As you can see, I just got the submission confirmation email from Niantic. This is what you want to look for before you close your app or game after a submission. It just says, thank you for sending in this submission. We'll get back to you in a few weeks. We're here at our next submission. This is Flair Beauty College, and we're just gonna submit the sign. This is one of those things that Niantic hasn't really said should be a submission or not, so it's more of a gray area. So it's more up to OPR's decision if they want it to go through or not. So the reason why it's kind of a 50-50 chance is because it's an education center, but it's also a high-level education center. And it's also a beauty college, so it's not something that you'd think of as a normal college. Okay, so now just gonna take a picture and submit it. Make sure there's no cars in the background. Just gonna take a picture of the sign. You can call it Flair Beauty College. When we were looking at spacing, we can just put it right on top. So we'll do that, and then we'll probably give this one a little bit of a fluffy description just to improve its chances. So what we're gonna say is probably something along the lines of a very high-end college in the area that has to do with beauty and makeup and other stuff like that. So now we're going to submit this Trailhead. This is one of those things that Niantic says should go through, but OPR is a little bit more stingent on. So in order to increase the chances, we're going to really add a really good description. We're going to fluff it up, exaggerate a little, be really detailed, and that should increase the chances. Whenever you're trying to submit, you should really add as many adjectives and adverbs to your description. Words like antique or historic, cultural, natural, things like those, that will really increase your chances. Here we are at the playground that we were planning on submitting, but as you can see, there are a lot of kids here playing around. So because there are no people allowed in the pictures, it would be denied. So it would be better to come back another time when there's no one playing here and submit then. So here we are at our next candidate. This is a baseball field at one of our best parks in the city. And simply, for this one, we're just gonna take a photo of the home stop. That's kind of the best way to show it. It's a baseball field. And we're going to put it right on top of the location where it is. So we're going to give this baseball field the name of UCLA Health Baseball Field. The reason for this is because this baseball field is sponsored by UCLA Health, and all the other baseball fields in this park is sponsored by a different company. So we're hoping that by giving them all different names, they will all be approved eventually and not be considered duplicates by OPR. So here we are at our next submission. This is the basketball court at Central Park. And as you remember, almost the entire thing is ineligible for a new PokeStop. So that's why, as you recall, we're gonna have to put it right in the corner of the bottom left field. There's people playing on the other end, so we're just basically gonna get one of the courts, which should be fine. So we're gonna put the submission right on the bottom edge of the courts. You know, hopefully OPR won't move this. There's a chance they will put it towards the center, which would make this a portal in Ingress, but will make it not come up in Pokemon Go. So we'll just have to see what happens. Sometimes they do move it, sometimes they don't. So once again, this is a pretty straightforward submission, so we really don't need a description for this because it will almost definitely go through. It just depends on if OPR moves it or not. That's basically everything for the submissions. We'll reconvene in a week to see what got approved and what got denied. Okay, so it's been 2 weeks since we did all those submissions, and we're happy to say that everything that we showed in the video got approved. Looking back, they were all pretty straight through submissions. You know, we had 2 athletic facilities in the basketball court and the baseball field. We had a playground, a trailhead marker, higher education, and a place of worship. So those will almost always generally go through. I also submitted a few things off camera, and I want to explain to you why they didn't go through. The first thing was Wolf Creek Brewery. Now, breweries sometimes go through. The more unique they are, the more likely they are to go through. The picture I submitted was just of the logo and thus didn't show any real uniqueness to the facility. If you are submitting breweries, definitely try to take a photo that shows how unique the establishment is that does not include any people in it. The second submission that got denied was Old Orchard Baseball Field. Now, usually baseball fields do go through, but the park that I submitted at is right next to an elementary school. So definitely I want to go and resubmit this one and make it clear to OPR that the baseball field is not part of the elementary school. Then the third failed submission was the Stagecoach at Lion Station. Now, I was pretty confident this one was going to go through, but it was denied. And I think the reason why was because that the Stagecoach looked like to be part of just a generic business. So I'm probably going to resubmit this one and talk about how the Lion Station is actually a historical site. So I need to do a better description. Now, in general, I'd recommend that if your submissions get denied, go back to Google View and make sure that it is visible so OPR can see it. Also make sure that the pictures you take don't look too residential, don't include any body parts, and look like it has safe pedestrian access. If everything checks out, definitely go back and submit again with a better picture, title, and description that can show possible historical or cultural context. If your submission gets denied again, I would recommend moving on to different submissions and come back later. When we were submitting the basketball court, we were definitely worried about the spacing and where to put our submission. And as you recall, we put it right in the bottom of the basketball courts. And as you can see, I added it to PogoMap.info, and OPR did not move it, and it got accepted and is now at PokeStop in its own cell. Since we did the submissions earlier in the video, Ingress Prime nominations have actually gone live worldwide. So as a bonus, we're going to show you here how it works. So here we are at a tennis court. As you know, tennis courts should always go through. With the new system, you click the home button, you go to nominations, and it gives you a quick little description of how you're supposed to do it. And first, it asks you to set the location. So we're going to set the location right on top of the tennis court. So now it wants you to take a photo of the portal, same thing as before. So we're going to go through the fence, since we do not have access to this tennis court. We take a photo, and now we have a photo of the tennis court. So now, something that is new for Ingress Prime is that you need to take an additional photo of the surrounding area, so OPR knows that it has safe pedestrian access. So what we are going to do is back up and take a photo of the larger area. So we're going to take this photo right here. This photo just shows that there is room and area for people to play, and that it's pretty easy just to walk up to the tennis court. It's not secluded, it's not blocked off by any gates, and this will help OPR determine that it has safe pedestrian access. Just as before, we're going to be putting a title for the portal, and then it wants a portal description, but as you remember from before, this is a tennis court, pretty straightforward, we don't need a description. But Ingress Prime actually requires you to put a description now. So as a description, we're basically going to say community tennis courts. One additional thing that's new to Ingress Prime nominations is that you have to give a little bit of a description as to why your nomination is important. This is basically just a little note to the reviewers. Here you're basically pleading your case as to why your submission should be approved. So here is where you're going to want to talk about possible cultural or historical reasoning that you didn't put in the description, reasons why this would be a really important portal for the neighborhood. So for this one, I'll probably just say this is a place that encourages exercise. So now that we've given a reason why the nomination is important, we can submit, and that will be the end of it. Now, very recently, I've actually become a level 12 agent in Ingress, so that means I have had access to OPR. And doing OPR, I've gained a little bit of insight to submissions and what to do to make them better. So when reviewers are looking at your submission, they're grading on multiple things. Should it be an overall portal? Is the title correct? Is it unique? Does it have historical or cultural context? Did you place your submission in the right spot? And does it have pedestrian access? So take all those things into mind when you're submitting. Another thing we want to address is response time from OPR. For the submissions that we showed in this video, we got our response back in 2 weeks. But other places might take a little bit longer depending on the amount of people who are actually reviewing an OPR. So some things might take a few weeks, some things might take a few months.
And so with that being said, that is basically going to do it for my How to Play Ingress for Pokemon Go player series. I hope you guys found this series very helpful and informative, and it helps you create more PokeStops and gyms in your local area. Making this series was definitely out of my comfort zone. I mean, prior to this, I knew little to nothing about Ingress, but thanks to Michael, I was able to learn so much, and I'm actually level 9 myself right now. So I should be able to hit level 10 relatively soon, and then I can actually start submitting PokeStops myself. And that's really exciting to me because one thing I really want to do when I get the ability to travel more is go to some rural communities and actually help them get some PokeStops and some portals so that they can start grinding Ingress themselves. The best thing that we can do for people that can submit PokeStops and portals is honestly help other communities start growing as well. I mean, if we can get more communities to grow and get to level 10, get to level 12, we're going to be helping out not only Ingress, but Pokemon Go and even Harry Potter Wizards Unite players. It's definitely something that I would love to do if I do get the opportunity, and I encourage you guys to do so as well. I mean, honestly, helping more communities grow is only going to lead to bigger and better things, and I don't think we're going to get PokeStop submissions globally for a very, very long time, and so this is pretty much the next best thing, and it's not too bad of a grind, as most of you guys already know since you are level 10 at this point. Grinding Ingress is not so complicated. I used to think it was this crazy complicated game, but it's actually not so bad. It's definitely not so bad. And so, getting to level 10, like I said, I'm almost there myself. I'm sure some of you guys have already gotten to level 10 and you've been waiting for this video. So I do really hope that it did help you out and you're gonna start creating more PokeStops in your community. And I really do hope that some of you guys who watch this series are going to be the pioneers of your local community. Get the portals there, get the PokeStops there, and encourage more players to actually start playing both games, or even just one game, and start to actually build something. That's always incredibly exciting, and to know that you were part of the foundation that kind of got it all started, it's a great feeling to say the least. And so I'm really looking forward to hearing tons of comments from you guys. Let me know how your Ingress grind is going. Are you going past level 10 to level 12? Are you making PokeStops in your local area? How is the gym progress coming along? Let me know all of that in the comment section below, guys. But with that being said, my friends, that is going to do it for this video and this series. Once again, I hope you all did find it very helpful and informative. If you did, feel free to hit that like button down below. As always, I'd really appreciate it. And I will be going over some more Ingress/Pokemon Go discussions in the future, so if you guys do want to see some of that stuff, make sure to hit that subscribe button as well for future videos. And I will see you all real soon in the next one.